He thought it was just another bag, just another target. He had no idea the woman he crossed that day wasn't just a CEO with a $20,000 designer purse. She was about to change his life forever in a way he never imagined. This isn't the story you think it is. Stick with this because you won't believe where this goes. Hit that subscribe button right now because some stories twist so hard, they'll stay in your mind for days. The city pulsed with its usual rhythm, the streets lined with flashing taxis, honking buses, and crowds of people too busy to notice anyone but themselves. On a corner near Fifth Avenue, a man named Marcus Reed scanned the flow of people, his hoodie pulled low over his forehead, his mind calculating opportunity. He wasn't a hardened criminal, just a man caught in cycles he didn't know how to escape. Rent was overdue. His younger sister's school fees were unpaid. His mother's medication sat in a pharmacy he couldn't afford. He had tried honest jobs, worked late nights cleaning offices where people like the ones he watched now had their million-dollar meetings. But honest work wasn't moving fast enough to pull his family out of the pit they'd fallen into. His hands trembled slightly as he spotted his target, a tall black woman in a crisp white suit, walking confidently with a designer handbag that gleamed even in the overcast light. The bag wasn't just expensive, it was a symbol. It screamed of wealth, exclusivity, and power. Marcus didn't know her name, didn't know she was Amara Sinclair, one of the most successful CEOs in the city, the head of a private equity firm that had reshaped industries, shattered glass ceilings, and changed thousands of lives. To him, she was just another rich person gliding through life untouched by the struggles that clung to him like second skin. His body moved before his conscience could catch up. A sharp yank, a tearing sound, the strap snapping under the force, and Marcus bolted into the crowd with the bag clutched tightly to his chest, weaving through panicked voices and the shout of security. He didn't look back. He didn't see Amara's face, a mixture of shock, anger, and something else, something like curiosity. Security chased him briefly, but Marcus vanished into the labyrinth of alleys he knew better than anyone. In the quiet of his rundown apartment, Marcus tore open the bag, expecting cash, maybe jewelry. What he found instead was a leather-bound notebook, a sleek phone locked with biometric security, and a stack of contracts with numbers that made his head spin. There was no wallet, no cash, no obvious payday. Just papers, schedules, and a thick envelope labeled with his own name. His breath caught. His name. His full name. Inside the envelope was a letter. "I know you're reading this, Marcus Reed. I know why you took the bag. I've been waiting for you." Panic gripped him. Was this some trap? Some setup? How did she know his name? The phone buzzed to life, a message lighting up the screen. "You have 24 hours to return what you took. Meet me at the address below. I promise this isn't what you think." His instincts screamed to run, to toss the bag and disappear. But something deeper pulled at him. Curiosity. Fear. The chance, however slim, that this was something else. He couldn't explain why, but he went. The address led into a sleek high-rise, the kind of building he usually passed without a second glance. Inside, Amara was waiting, not with police, not with lawyers, but alone in a private meeting room. She greeted him not with anger but with calm precision, her gaze sharp but not unkind. She told him she had been watching him, not in a sinister way, but because his sister had applied for a scholarship through one of her company's educational programs, and his name had surfaced when she dug deeper into the family situation. She knew about his mother's illness, about his endless string of temp jobs, about his quiet sacrifices that no one else saw. She told him the bag wasn't bait, but it had been the test. And now she was offering him a job. Not just any job, a position in her company's community outreach division, where she believed someone with his background, his real-world experience, could make a difference. Marcus didn't trust her. It sounded like a setup, a cruel game played by the rich to toy with people like him. But she didn't back down. She gave him a choice: walk away now, or come back tomorrow and prove he was more than what the system had pushed him to become. He left that day without a word, his head spinning. He thought about rejecting the offer, about slipping back into the shadows. But something about her was different. She had seen him, truly seen him, not as a criminal, but as someone who still had a chance. Against every instinct, he showed up the next day. Amara didn't make it easy. She pushed him harder than anyone ever had, made him sit through training, demanded excellence, but she also mentored him. Over weeks, Marcus began to see the world from a new angle. He learned about finance, about leadership, about the quiet power of shaping decisions from behind the curtain. But his past didn't let go so easily. Old friends from the streets, people he'd once run with, started questioning his sudden corporate life. They didn't trust Amara, thought she was using him, waiting for him to slip so she could drop him harder than he'd ever fallen. He doubted her too, sometimes late at night, wondering if this was all some social experiment. But each time he wanted to quit, she was there, demanding he push through. Until one day, a secret surfaced that twisted everything. A former associate of Amara's leaked information that suggested she wasn't always the flawless CEO the world admired. Decades ago, when she was climbing the corporate ladder, she had allegedly partnered with investors tied to questionable business practices. The whispers grew louder, suggesting that her empire had been partly built on deals that hurt small communities, including ones like Marcus's own neighborhood. His old friends seized on this, telling him she was no better than the people who had crushed them for generations. Torn between his loyalty to his roots and his gratitude to Amara, Marcus confronted her. She didn't deny the past. She told him she had made ruthless decisions, had once sacrificed small players to climb higher, believing that was the only way to succeed in a system stacked against her. But she also told him that people can change, that her entire company's mission had shifted because of the guilt she carried. She had built scholarship programs, community funds, and outreach divisions not to buy redemption, but to truly shift power to those who had been excluded. Marcus didn't know what to believe. The streets whispered she was still a shark, but his life was changing because she had pulled him in. The final twist came when Marcus discovered that his mother's medical bills, the ones he had struggled to pay for years, had quietly been covered by an anonymous donor. Amara had been helping his family long before the day he tore her bag. She had seen his sister's scholarship application and traced it back to Marcus, finding the young man who kept falling through the cracks despite fighting to survive. Her intervention hadn't started as some corporate pet project. It had been personal. She saw a younger version of herself in Marcus, a fighter surrounded by wolves. And when she orchestrated the bag incident, it hadn't been a trap, but a doorway she hoped he would step through. Marcus's heart battled his pride, his street loyalty clashing with the rare opportunity that had been placed in his hands. In the end, it wasn't the money, the career, or the escape from poverty that convinced him to stay. It was the realization that for the first time, someone had bet on him without expecting him to fail. Years passed, and Marcus didn't just survive. Rose. He became a critical figure in Amara's company, eventually leading major projects that revitalized neighborhoods like the one he had come from. He advocated for financial programs that prioritized forgotten communities, developed partnerships with local leaders, and used his position to break cycles that once seemed unbreakable. His transformation became a story of hope whispered across the streets, told to kids who thought their only options were the ones the system handed them. He didn't abandon his roots, he built bridges back to them. He became a symbol that people didn't have to be trapped by where they started. Amara continued to mentor him, but eventually she stepped back, watching as Marcus grew into a leader capable of shaping his own legacy. Their relationship became one of mutual respect, a friendship forged in the most unexpected way. And yet, The memory of the torn bag lingered between them, a quiet reminder that sometimes, the moment you think you're stealing from someone, you're actually stepping into your own rescue. Marcus would sometimes smile when passing by high-end stores, remembering how desperate he had once been, how he had thought that bag would be his ticket to quick cash, not knowing it would instead become the doorway to everything he had spent his life chasing. And Amara, in her quiet moments, often reflected on the gamble she had taken that day, on the young man with sharp eyes and shaking hands who could have vanished like so many others. She had bet on him, and he had proven her right. In the end, it was never about the bag. It was about what it carried. A chance, a risk, a test, and the beginning of a story that would ripple through both of their lives forever.